So welcome everybody. This is a presentation, a workshop, a webinar, whatever we want to call this, that a group of us has put together, myself, the ladies from House of Social, Beck and Mel, and Dean and Monique from ACFA.
ACFA, yep.
I stumbled over that for some reason. So I want to just thank everybody in the panel right now for participating in this, because it's going to be a fantastic event. We're really, really excited to be able to help the joinery industry. We're all kind of struggling right now, and a lot of people are just a little bit worried. So hopefully we can get a lot of value from this and everybody can participate. It'll be, you know, we've got 2 hours here to work with. We can use as much of that as we want or as little of it as we want. So the first question I have for everyone, just to sort of get started, is are you a morning person or are you a night person? I always ask this question. I'm always curious to see how it breaks down in the answers in this industry. Are you a morning person or are you a night person? Morning, morning, morning. Wow. A lot of morning people. Definitely night person. It'd be interesting to see the results of this. If everybody can answer the question, I always put this into a percentage and see where we sit. I am well and truly a night person. Looks like we're getting a lot of morning and nights here. Yeah, morning, night. I'm up all night, but I'm a morning person. That's awesome. Okay, thanks for that, guys. So that's, sorry?
I like the tradie wife, definitely a morning person.
Morning person, yeah, yeah. Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of presentation. We've got Dean Brackel from ACFA. Dean's going to talk about a little bit about opportunities in the industry right now. I'll talk about that as well. We'll have a good conjunction with that. Monique is going to talk a little bit about HR and what you can do with your staff, the do's and don'ts. And I think you've got the top 5 questions as to what you've been getting lately.
Yep.
Melody and Rebecca from House of Social, wonderful marketing people. And we're going to talk about what you can do with your marketing right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about business. A little bit of guidelines for today. If you don't know, this is a community. And so please feel free to comment and put anything in the chat box. Specific questions in the Q&A. The Q&As are being monitored by my business manager, Kim. This is a large group, so we're going to be following up. We're not going to be able to answer all questions today in this session, but please feel free to put a question and as many questions as you want in the Q&A, and we will be following up afterwards. Any questions so far?
All good.
All good? All right, so let's jump right into it. I think that we'll just preface this a little bit by saying, look, we're in some crazy times, 100%. The world has gone absolutely insane, but the thing really is that this is not going to last forever, right? We're going to, and it's a little bit crazier in some cases than I think it should be. I want to also just stop at this stage and say, nothing that we talk about in this presentation is losing sight of the fact of the human suffering that this virus has caused. We're not in any way saying at any point that we should be taking advantage of any of this right now. However, what we are saying is you have a business and you have a family and you have staff and you have customers that are relying on your survival through this thing. And we really want to help you do that. So we're not downplaying any of the human suffering that this thing has caused, but we are saying that this isn't going to last forever. And we want to help you find opportunities right now that are front and center. So this will be over soon. And this is the thing that a lot of people, I think, are losing a little bit of sight of, that it feels like this, as it is right now, is the new norm. It isn't, but there is a new norm we'll talk about later on. So what I'd like to talk about today, and I'd like to get, the wonderful thing about this is we've got an enormous number of people that are industry people talking about how are we going to get started right now, making some changes that maybe we should have been making for a long time before now. Of course, we want to operate in a safe way. So none of the changes we're talking about right now are going to be happening right away, but there is just so much confusion out there right now. What can you do? What can you not do? What can you get from the government? What can you get from the bank? And I think that a lot of people are maybe in this call right now because of that. There's confusion. We're not sure what to do. So hopefully we can clear up some of that for you today. But I want to also highlight the fact that you actually do have control over what happens from this point forward. You actually do have a crystal ball right now, and you can control what's going to happen for you and your business into the future. So I think we need to get you off the branch first. if that's where you feel like you are, and get started. Any questions or comments from that? Anybody in the panel that would like to add?
I think we've got to recognise that there is a bit of a situation where people need time to normalise what's going on. There is a psychological part to all of this, in that we've had massive upheaval. If you think about literally how much has changed in the last, say, 3 weeks, in terms of how fast this has moved and how quickly the new measures have come in, and it can almost feel like every day something else is new and something else is changing. So I think we need to acknowledge the psychological part of where people are right now, and that eventually what is going to happen is that we will normalise where we are. We will normalise this business of working from home. We will normalise this business of social isolation. And that is the point. Once people start to absorb where we're at, that is the point at where we can actually start making some big inroads. And then as we start to come out of that, we can build on what we've been doing. But I think we have to acknowledge the psychological part of where we are today. Yeah,
I agree. One of the things that I'm finding as a business coach is that occasionally I lose connection here to the internet. So you'll see me logging in and out occasionally. By the way, I didn't say this. We're praying to the tech gods right now. Everything should go fine. One of the things that we've found is that our normal sort of business drivers, and you'll see the 9 of them on the outside of this business model that we have. I think, Mel, you make a really good point that the new norm is the new norm. But in actual fact, when we start looking at some of the things we're doing with people, even whether they're in a program or whether they're not, the message is still the same. It's just accelerated. And I think what's happened is we've kind of been punched in the face here, and we weren't expecting it. And now we have to react. And you know what it's like when you get punched in the face. What did Mike Tyson say? Everybody's tough until you get punched in the face. It's kind of like that, isn't it? That right now we're being forced to make these decisions and make these changes in our business. Whereas before it was entirely up to you, what pace you went at, whether you did anything. And there's 9 sort of main drivers of business around the outside. And we're finding now that what's more important is, the one that was always important, and the second and the third, we're sort of coming back to number 1. And a lot of people weren't really, in this industry, not a lot of people had a great marketing plan in their business. How did you market and brand your business? How strong was that? When everything kind of dips as quickly as it has, we lose that. So we're actually finding that a lot of our call it our programs or our approach, we didn't really have to repackage it or change it. We just had to change the focus. So I've been following a gentleman by the name of Todd Herman. Now, Todd Herman is a guy who is a specialist in human behaviors. And human behaviors are really interesting things to look at in times like this. Now, one of the things that he's found is that people in business are either fear-focused, they're unfocused, or they're strategy-focused. And those are sort of the 3 positions that in normal times people are in. They're in one of those 3 general positions. And the thing that I wanted to just talk briefly about today is that this crisis did not create or put you in any one of those positions. You were already there. So if you happen to be running, let's make this the right color. If you happen to be in a business that was not doing particularly well, you were probably going like this. If you were in a business that was sort of doing okay, it's sort of up and down, you're not really doing anything great to improve the business. You just think, well, we're going to get by for the next 10 years. You were already on that line. Or if you were the sort of business that was actively making changes, you might be on this trajectory right now before the crisis hit. That was prior to this crisis. So I think one thing that I want to do is I want to highlight the point that what this crisis has done, I think, is it's highlighted the position you're actually in business right now, and maybe accelerated the fact that if you're on this line, you want to get up to here, or if you're on this line, you want to get up to here. And that's ultimately what a lot of people are trying to do right now, because if you don't do that, you could go from here down to here very quickly, right? And that's the fear that everybody has. So a fear-focused business are people that just don't know what to do. We know that if you're on an improvement curve already, that's probably flattened out a little bit, right? It might have been doing that one, but right now you're sort of going like this, and we want to get up to here. So that's sort of the things that we need to do to get through this survival stage, because we're at this stage right here. We also know that if you're on this yellow line, maybe it's time to start thinking about how do we get up to here? Because if you stay on that yellow line, things are probably going to start getting worse. And those are the sort of things we're going to talk about today. So if you're the sort of strategy focused business, well, we'll start at the bottom. If you were fear focused, you were probably already struggling in business before the crisis hit. And you're probably the sort of business that says, well, we don't know what to do, or we're not really asking for help. If you were a little unfocused, that usually is a business that's been going for a while that maybe is waiting for the normal to return. Mel, that's kind of what you're saying, right? The new norm is like, that's not going to come back again. We've got to stop thinking, okay, well, we're just going to wait it out until everything returns back to normal. And I have to sometimes be the bearer of bad news. There is not going to be a new normal return. But we find that businesses that were already strategy focused are ones that are saying, how are we going to get through this? What do we need to do? Let's just put a plan in place. Those are the sorts of conversations that those types of strategy focused businesses have. So the conversations that we're having directly line up with what Todd's analysis is, which is you're either fear focused or unfocused or strategy focused. My message here today mostly is let's get strategy focused if you're not in that category already, so that we can get to this next stage. And part of that is just saying, okay, well, let's not absorb the drama that's out there in the industry. There's just so much. I don't know if anybody's old enough to know the Chicken Little story. The sky is falling.
No, I'm not.
Testing the ages here a little bit of the panel. So if you watch Facebook, even if you watch the news, if you do all of that, then you're going to feel like the sky is falling. And again, there's no question that there is a lot of human tragedy here that is very, very bad. But the point is, there are some positives that we can take away from this that are going to force us to make improvements we probably should have been making in the first place. And so I'm kind of saying, let's change the industry. This is our opportunity to start making some of these changes that we've been having in conversations for years with some people. And right now, the harsh reality is we don't have any choice. It's the old Branson story, right? If you want to learn how to skydive, put on a parachute and jump out of a plane. You've got no choice. Right now, we've got no choice. And so let's get started. The old days are gone. Like, we're not going to go back to the way things were before. The clients are not going to go back, and your business will not survive moving forward if it operates the way that it did before. So the one point that I'd like to make as well is that there's a message that's going out in the industry, and we see it a lot. It's business as usual. We'd like to make it business. I think we want it to be business as usual. It's not business as usual. And I think the clients and the people that you're putting the message out to are reading this going, well, hang on, if it's business as usual, I'm not interested, because I don't know if you're safe or you're clean or anything like that, right? So it's not business as usual. It's new. And we've got to tell people how the new is. Mel, Beck, Monique, Dean, any thoughts?
No, well, I agree with you. Yeah, exactly. It's about building that customer confidence, really, isn't it? So what you had to do previously has now changed, and we've got to move forward with that.
Absolutely, and the messaging that we are putting across.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the strong messages that as certainly in my group we've talked about a lot. Mel, Beck, we've talked about this a lot as well. If putting pictures of your kitchens that you built for another customer ever got marketing results, every single joiner on this call right now would be so flooded with work you wouldn't know what to do with yourself, right? If that ever worked, putting a picture up of your kitchens and what you built for another customer, if that worked, we wouldn't need Mel and Beck to do their wonderful marketing. But the fact is, it's never worked, and it's really not going to work right now, right? So we've got to think about what are we going to do differently now that is going to speak to your market. It's going to really get results for you if we're talking about marketing, for example. And the great thing is, you actually do have a choice. Everybody has a choice as to what you do now, today, this week, this next month. Everybody's got a choice, right? So That's sort of where we're at. I'm hoping that we're getting some buy-in from people, you know, and just talking about what are we going to do in the next few weeks. So that's sort of where we're at right now. We're really hoping to get people motivated and inspired. If you're not inspired now, I'm not sure when you would be, but we've got a lot of work to do in businesses. And so I think the first thing we need to talk about is, what do you need to do right now? You know, what are the things that, if we talk about survival mode, what are the sort of main key points that we need to help a business with in survival mode? I'd like to invite one of the panelists to jump in here and just talk. I've made a few points, and what we're doing with a lot of our groups right now is we're talking about, how do you control your finances? Like, what do you do around your finances? I think right now it's so important that you have current P&Ls and you know exactly where all your costs are. I think it's also important that you limit anything that is a low cost return on investment. Fortunately now, maybe we'll get some mortgage relief or some lease relief. We're getting some things that are coming through that we can pause or adjust. And I don't think anybody in the panel right now is a government expert as to where you can get some of these relief packages from. But I got an email from my accountant today saying that you know, the job keeper program is now going to be finalized today. So those are the sort of extra costs that you can get in. But I think also, if we talk about, maybe think about adding high ROI costs to your business. For us, my accountant, who I engage with him a little more than most people would, we pay him monthly. And when I talked to him, he said, well, he was thinking that most people would just cancel their monthly engagement. I'm going, Paul, no, I need you now more than ever, man. Like, I need you to be sending me emails regularly, because that's high return on investment. So that was a cost that we kept up with. And we're also in a coaching program as well. So we want to stay with that community, and we want to stay connected to the people that are going to help us through this and inspire us to do that. So those are things that are what we call high ROI costs that you might want to keep on board, but look at limiting some of your low stuff. Does anybody in the panel have any input into what we can do financial wise to, you know, engage business with banks or government?
Thanks, Bruce. It's Dean. Look, we've, and I'll declare this interest, we've actually got a partnership arrangement with Michael at Finley. So we sent out some good information the other day with regards to financing. And those sort of finance questions, to be honest, I'd rather Michael, as an expert in his field, to be able to field. And obviously, Michael's not involved today, but if you want to pop on our website, you can grab Michael's details, or they'll be on our website. If not, Monique and I will be happy to share that information with everybody on the webinar today. So, you know, there's a whole lot, all the banks are doing things differently, and basically Michael's actually put together a bit of a précis about what each bank are doing. So be well worth having a look at that.
Yeah, that'd be great. And that's a good point, Dean. Thanks for that. There's the ACFA website has got some amazing resources available. So there's, you know, things are changing so rapidly. So as far as the government and that goes, it looks like they're starting to finalize some of the conclusions. I personally found that it was great when politics weren't involved. They seemed to get things done really quickly, but then the opposition stood up and said, oh, hang on, now we have to play politics. Now it all got like 15 pages for this job keeper, whereas before it was 2. It should have just gone through. So unfortunately, politics is starting to play a part here. But certainly with your businesses, everybody on the line here right now with joinery businesses, you take this opportunity to make sure that your P&L is current. I'll just take a bit of a pause here and ask everybody on the line, does everybody on the line right now have a current profit and loss statement from February or March? March might be a little early, but at least February, so that if we were to sit down and talk about what your costs are and all that sort of thing, are you current at this stage with all your P&Ls and your finance? Most people are saying yes. Adam says yes. Helen, Janelle, yes. Ben says yes. Beatrice says yes. Most people are saying yes. Chanel says yes. That's really good to hear. So that gives you the ability, because banks are not just freely giving out money right now, but they are a little bit more free than they were before with the government assurances and that sort of thing. So they're going to ask probably for some current numbers. So it's really important to have your finances current. I think these tick boxes, everything you see on that list there, I think is really important. Now, the other thing I think is important is right now to relieve yourself of some, let's say, uncertainty. I think if you were to list off what cash you have coming in the next 2 or 3 or 4 months, what that cash actually is, analyze all of those sources, analyze all those customers, and say, are they likely to pay you? Or are they a customer that you're just doing work for that has been a late payer for, 30, 60, 90 days? That's your traditional payment cycle. Analyze whether you would actually want to do that job or not, because you need cash right now. And if they're likely to not pay on time, I think it's a good opportunity to go to that customer and say, look, we really need to make sure that we're going to get paid. So we're going to have some more terms or whatever the case is. So focus on, doing work for good customers, and focus on getting the money from the customers that owe you the money right now. And of course, negotiating with suppliers it's always one of the things on the table, isn't it? There's a bit of an interesting thing that's been happening right now with our network. We're finding actually that a lot of our clients are getting paid sooner from the clients that would normally have paid them late. Now, when that happened, I went, well, why is that actually happening? And the reality is that this is a chain. You're connected to a chain. There's a builder that's connected to, a building surveyor, or there's all these other sub trades. And this whole chain that you're connected to is being forced to get better at what they do. And so the interesting thing is we're finding that right across the building industry, a lot of people are just getting better at being on top of their invoicing, or getting paid sooner, or making sure that the work is done on time, that sort of thing. I don't know if anybody else on the line has experienced that. Maybe just put a yes or a no in the box. Did anybody find that you got paid sooner from a client that would have paid late, or not at all? A few yeses. Yeah. See, isn't that interesting? It's in an industry where we thought everything was tightening up, we're now getting paid sooner. And I think it's just that connection to this chain, and everybody in the chain has been forced to get better at what they're doing. A bit of a mix. Matthew says still waiting. It's certainly an opportunity to have the conversation, whereas before it might have been an awkward conversation. And I think the third thing that we want to look at for manufacturing businesses is no defects, right? We want to make sure that your work is going out defect-free. And now more than ever, the tendency is to want to speed things up, right? Because we want to get the job done and get it out the door because we need the money. So now the tendency more than ever is to try and speed the work up because you want the money. But I would say the exact opposite should be done. I think what should happen is you should slow things down a little bit. Make sure that the work is defect-free when it leaves your factory. Make sure that it's 100%. And make sure it's 100% on time. On time doesn't mean getting the carcasses on site and then the doors get there later, because that's going to increase your defects. On time means maybe it's a day or two later than it would have been if the carcasses just arrived, but it's 100% when it gets there. And it's 100% defect free. So we're finding that really now more than anything is the time to give the customer no reason to not pay you. So focus internally on where you're going with your defects. A lot of people are saying, well, a few people are saying they're chasing more. How are you guys finding it, Mel and Beck, as far as your marketing agency goes, and you've got a number of clients in the industry? What have you found sort of in that side of things?
Yeah, look, everybody's been sort of paying up to date within the industry. I think there are quite a few people that are still able to operate, or are really knowing that they need to invest now to get their marketing in full swing to be able to continue their business.
I think if I can add to that, the main thing that we're finding is, and it's completely understandable because we're talking about an industry of small businesses, and we talk a lot with larger businesses about having your crisis comms management book up to date. Most people in our industry have no idea about what to do when a crisis hits, whether it's a
public relations crisis or something like this that's just literally come out of the blue and blown everyone over.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have been left, I think, when you say the fear focus, I think the fear focus comes from not knowing what to do.
Yes.
What do? All of a sudden I can't get into people's homes, and all of a sudden I can't get product from where I used to get product from. And all of a sudden, everyone in my family has lost their job, and all of a sudden we're all living on top of each other. And I mean, it's not like you can ever plan for something like that, but I think what we're finding is, from a marketing perspective, is having that plan of action for when any form of crisis hits. What am I going to do as a business if we hit some form of crisis? And I think that's what we're finding, that people are now coming to us and going, we don't know what to do. Yeah. Help us with our messaging, because we don't want to come across as being tone deaf.
Yes.
And we don't want to come across as capitalizing. But obviously we recognise we need to do something. So a lot of the queries we're getting is really around the messaging and how do we stay relevant, and how do we do it in a way that's not going to hurt our business.
Yes.
Because obviously any form of, or anything that's seen as profiteering right now is going to really, I think, hurt any business in the long term.
It certainly comes across in the wrong vein, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, from my perspective here as a coach to the industry, we always sort of say, well, what is it that your new customer is looking for? So, we've got a new customer, we've got new needs, and what is it that they're actually going to want to see? And you raise a really good point. What's different now? Let me get my iPad back on screen. So how are things different now? And that's kind of the point you're making, isn't it, Mel? Is what's actually changed? So let's talk a little bit about what's changed and how do we react to that change. I'll just throw my 2 thoughts on the table, or my 2 cents on the table, and then we can open up a panel and a discussion for this. By the way, Dean's raised a good point when we talked about DIFOT. DIFOT is delivery in full on time, which is a manufacturing term that should be monitored. And really, everybody's got a manufacturing business if you manufacture joinery. So really, always the 2 things that we should have as a measurement in your factory is delivery in full on time and your defect rate. And so those 2 things are not new, but now they're more important than ever. And it comes back to what I was saying earlier, that when we look at the foundations or the basics that we try and get businesses to follow, these 2 things being the 2 main things become even more important now. But how have things changed? I'd like to suggest a few things. I'd like to suggest that your new client is the permanent new client, and how they view you as a potential supplier to them is now completely different. So I think everybody's message today has to change. Everybody's message has to be different and tuned into what that client is looking for. So I think there's a new level of surgical clean level that we need to get our businesses to. Because most people are saying, well, if I'm going to hire this company, what are they doing to keep me safe? How do we know that they're meeting those standards? And there's just a new level that we've got to get to. They're worried about cleanliness. So showing things in your factory, your truck, your delivery truck, people washing their hands, showing that sort of stuff is actually proving that you've responded in an appropriate way to this crisis. Training your team. Right now we've got some removalists, and we had a few deliveries in our new house and things like that. And I have to tell you that I wasn't that impressed. They're showing up with no masks on, no gloves on, I had no idea who these people were. They just showed up, opened their truck and dropped these things off, and I was actually a little bit concerned. So that's the sort of thing that myself as a consumer can kind of digest. And how am I responding now in this weird sort of way that I wasn't responding to before? What are your thoughts, Mel, Beck?
Yeah, look, I think that all comes back to the messaging and the connections, and we'll go into that a bit deeper when we kind of head into the marketing portion of this. But I think, yeah, it's another way that you can show empathy with the situation. It's I think a lot of people are worried about acknowledging the situation. They feel like, well, we should just pretend like it's not there, and then that way our customers will think it's not happening, and then they'll just continue to book jobs. And I think that's a flawed way of thinking. My take on it is it's absolutely okay to acknowledge what's going on. It's absolutely okay to also acknowledge how distressing this has been for everybody. I think running away from that message will come across as being a bit insensitive. Whereas, you know, if you can take, you know, you don't have to make a big song and dance about it. It doesn't have to be a full Broadway production about how you cleaned down the bench this morning. But I think just simple things that reinforce that message that we understand, we're doing everything we can, we're playing our part. It's more the reassurance level that I would put that at rather than the song and dance level.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree. In actual fact, did you have, when we talk about marketing, because this whole section we're talking about now really is about marketing. And I guess the point that I'm making is there's a few tick boxes here about how to gain trust. And I think trust was always important. You know, people won't part with their money if they don't trust you. So marketing was always about building trust. But now it's even more important because trust isn't more so much about, are they going to do a good job? Are they going to meet the design? Now trust goes to a whole new level of, are they going to be safe in my house? And I think we talk about new customers around products as well. You know, solid surface is probably going to make this amazing comeback because a lot of solid surface products have bacteria inhibitors built into them. And that's where your customer is now going, oh, I've got to have bacteria inhibitors. You know, and there are things like cleaning products now, instead of the, you know, the spray bottle that goes under the sink, we're now looking at cool ways of having that displayed out in the open where it can be accessed. And it's not this ugly, you know, hospital pump on the wall for your hands. We want to make some cool dispensers for hand cleaning that can be in your house and look okay. Those are that new level of thinking, right? And I don't think there's any question that custom home offices have gone off the charts. So if we can move into that section, we're going to do quite well, I think. What do you reckon, Beck?
Yes, I'm definitely seeing an increase in people talking about it and sharing on different sort of platforms and groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mel, did you have a presentation you want me to handball over to you?
It sounds like it's a good time to do that. 100%. So why don't I share my screen?
While you're doing that, I just want to ask everybody that's on the line right now, give me one or two points or takeaways that you've picked up so far that you weren't maybe thinking about before you jumped on today. Let's just hear from everybody on the line. Anthony, Shelley, Michael, Damien, Sandra, and Donna, let's hear some of your comments so far. Are you picking up what we're putting down? Are we on track, or do you have some questions? For everybody that didn't hear the beginning of this, you can put a chat in the chat box, or you can put a question in the questions and answer section. So please feel free to throw as many questions at us as you want, and we'll get to them as best as we can. But let's just hear from everybody in the chat box. What have you picked up so far that's resonating with you? Providing information to clients around health and safety element would be put this on ASAP. Yeah, for sure. Business won't be the same, and we need to change to suit 100%. And Michael, that's true. Adam Dewar says things won't be the same. I think they won't be, and they're not. I think that's really true. And I think that today, right now, is the time we accept that this is how it is, and how are we going to modify your business? We will not be returning to normal, says Jim. Yeah, it's certainly not the normal we knew, but it's going to be the new normal, 100%. All of the things we're implementing, a lot of those things will beginning to diversify, says Renee. Very good. Yeah, Noel says Anthony says treating the situation as nothing's going on. That's probably the worst thing you can do. I wish I had a head buried in the sand image, but that's a lot of businesses actually are doing that now before the crisis. A lot of comments coming through. This is good. Great, guys. The way we come out of this will be determined by what we do, not by what others do. Simon, that's such an awesome comment. People aren't going to fix this for us. We're going to have to do it as an industry ourselves. I'm a little bit excited, really obviously disappointed that this is happening, but I'm a little bit excited about all the great things that are happening now, because we've had so much resistance in a lot of these areas up until now, and now the door's wide open and we're just flying ahead with it. Beatrice says, finances, I'm a bookkeeper and I can see my clients paying more attention to their P&L. Hallelujah! P&L now makes sense, right? Now what's a P&L? Oh, it's got my money in there. I need that. Yeah, that's such a great comment. We all need to be learning. So the other thing I just mentioned at this point is we've got some awesome panelists on the line here. We're going to give you their contact message email at the end of this presentation. Please, everybody, don't be afraid to reach out. None of us are selling anything right now. You know, we're not in sell mode here. We're in help mode. That's where we're at in business. And I think everyone on the panel will agree. Do not be afraid to reach out to us, because we're not going to try and sell you anything. We're just going to try and help you. So the more questions you can throw at us, the more help you're going to get. Ed says it's time to sharpen up what we're doing and should be doing. I agree, Ed, 100%. The old days are gone. The new days are here. Awesome comments. Okay. The floor is yours, Melanie. What a great presentation.
Thank you. All right. So today, obviously, going to need to talk fairly generically because all of you are going to have some fairly specific business situations and industry situations. So let's just talk in general about how we want to manage our marketing sort of for the next couple of months while we're still really in the throes of what you would call the crisis. But also let's look at how we can use what we do in the next few months to build a really solid foundation for as we start to come out. Because as Bruce said at the beginning, this is not going to last forever. And eventually we are going to start to come out of this. And things will go back to whatever version of normal we decide is normal moving forward. So I think it's really important to have a think about what we're doing. Let's move on. Next slide. So start with a plan. If you don't already have a marketing plan for your business, it's not too late. A lot of people come to me and say, well, I've never written a marketing plan, so now it's too late. It's not. Start now. Now is a really good time. If things are a little bit quieter, now is a really good time to sit down and get your head around what you want. So you need to know fundamentally and primarily, what does success look like for you and for your business? Because every business is going to have a different goal. Every business is going to operate in a different market, and you're all going to have different outcomes. So measuring your success against somebody else's success is not going to help you. You need to know what success looks like for you. Another big thing is people try to do everything all at once. My thing to you would be, particularly right now, don't bite off too much. Do one thing and focus on doing it really well. Once you've got that in the bag, then you can look at moving on to the next thing and adding something else, because it's just too much otherwise. Look for opportunities to collaborate. We're actually really lucky in this industry. We've got a fairly small industry in the big scheme of things, and most of us know one another. There are really, really good opportunities to collaborate here. So reach out to your builders, reach out to your suppliers, reach out to your industry contacts. Look at ways that you can collaborate maybe on jobs, because as a combined force, we are so much stronger than as individual businesses. We talked about trust before, and there's a really clear path to gaining your customers' trust. First of all, they have to like you. They have to like something about you. So there has to be something about you that attracted you to them in the first place. Then they have to get to know you. They get to know you through a number of different ways, their interactions with you, how you appear in your website or your socials or in business. Then they learn to trust you. So they're not going to trust you until they like you or like something about you and get to know you. I think too, with everything you do in marketing, you can flood the market and you can absolutely put something up on every social platform you've got every single day, and that's going to get you absolutely nowhere. You want to focus on quality, whatever content you're creating, whether it's for your website, for blogs, for brochures, for any form of marketing that you're doing. You absolutely want to focus on quality rather than quantity. Any plan has to be SMART, and you can remember it for SMART, specific. So it comes back to what I said before, focus on one thing. Needs to be measurable. Know what success is going to look like for you so you can know whether you've got there. It has to be achievable, particularly at the moment, be realistic. Needs to be relevant, so it has to refer to what is happening today in the market, and it has to be timely. So we need to look at how we can have short-term as well as long-term goals. So that's to do with your plan. In terms of social media, it won't surprise any of you that in the last few weeks we have seen a huge increase in the rate of social media use. People are stuck at home, people have got nothing else to do, so people are engaging in their social media more than ever before. But here is where you have to drop the hard sell. Here is absolutely where you cannot push them to buy right now. Engagement is the key. So you can do that by asking open-ended questions, getting them to, people love to be opinionated. Ask them, give them a reason to be opinionated. Ask them, do you like this or this? Should I put this or that? You know, people will love to give you their opinion. Everyone's a couch expert, don't forget. Think about answers. We live in an industry that is governed by frequently asked questions. You know what your customers are mostly asking you, what types of questions they're mostly asking you. So jump on the front foot and start answering them for you. Think about how you can expand your presence. Look into podcasts, look into videos. Videos are great. Your day-to-day life is really interesting. What you're doing in the factory, what you're doing on site, your latest 3D design experiment, the latest colour combination that you're looking to put together. There's lots and lots of ways that you can expand. Connections are hugely important right now and will be for the next couple of months. You want to look at ways you can connect with your customers, with your suppliers, with other industry members. So look at the spread of ways. Don't just focus on one. What makes you unique? That's a really important thing. And I've given you a hint here. It's you. We are in an industry where people buy from people. They will absolutely buy from you because of who you are and what you do and what your business represents. So don't be afraid to really sing that from the rooftops. Celebrate everything that is unique about your business. I was talking to someone the other day and she said, I wasn't sure if I should really push the fact that we're a family business because I'm worried that that makes us feel like we're a bit too small and maybe they won't take us seriously. And I'm like, no. The fact that you're a family business is absolutely what makes you unique. It's absolutely what gives you your edge and it shows your approach to the industry. Passion, you can probably hear in my voice how passionately I feel about this. Passion brings authenticity. So any message you put out there, and I stress this is across everything, whether it's in a brochure, whether it's on your website, whether it's in something you're writing on your socials, be passionate about your industry. Be passionate about what you do. Be proud about what you do because that brings authenticity and authenticity brings engagement. People will connect more with you when you're authentic about what you're saying and how you're doing it. There are 3 key elements with anything that you put out there. Respond, share, and engage. So you want to respond to people if they're sending you messages, whether it's DMs or they're making comments on your posts or whatever. You want to share as much as you can from your suppliers, from your customers, even from other industry professionals that you work with. Share as much of their material as possible. It creates a community. And engage. Be really engaged, be responsive, and be on top of everything. And that will really help you build what we call a solid foundation for now. I think this is the next one. All right, so we want to talk about why we want to get involved in socials. So I'm going to flip over to Beck, who's really the social media expert. So I think, Beck, we've got this slide and then the next one. I'll flick over when you're ready.
No worries.
Can I just jump in here for 1 second?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm biting my tongue.
Like you?
Yeah, it's not like me at all. The one thing that we've learned about websites, and particularly around engagement, Mel, is that, and you guys are the experts, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Generally speaking, people land on your website because they've come from some other place. Like the top of funnel brings them to your website. So your social media, your wherever it is that leads them to your website, you've really got a very short period of time to engage them there. And what happens is they'll land on your website homepage. That's for sure going to get the most landings for sure. The next most clicked on page is the About Us page. Now, when I do an analysis of websites, we do this every couple of months in our Joinery Business Hub group on Facebook. I just say, look, just chuck me your website. We'll analyze it live. It's amazing how many people actually do this, and they feel like they kind of get, you know, raked over the coals a little bit. But the reality is, it's done with utmost intent to help them. When you go to the About Us page, first of all, the homepage has no humans on it at all, so there's no connection being made. And then they go to the About Us page, and it's talking about, we build the best cabinets and we have the best quality hardware, and that's about us. And I think that really goes to your point, Mel, about that connection, about humans buy from humans. The reason that they go to the About Us page as the next most clicked on page is because the thing that people want to know is, who is it that's running this business and why should I care about them? And if they don't make that connection, at least in the homepage and then on the About Us page, they bounce. And if you do, we've got 53 people on the line here right now. And I would challenge everyone to go to your own website and have a look at your homepage. Is there a human on the homepage? Or are you showing pictures of kitchens? Go to the About Us page, and does the About Us page actually say something about you and your journey in this industry and why you're running this business and why somebody else should care about it? They don't need to know about all your personal stuff. They just need to know about why would they care about you and why would they care about this business enough to maybe make contact with you, because that's the first step we want them to make. So that connection, Mel, is such an important thing, and it's lost on most websites. You know, humans appear on most joinery websites, and the About Us page isn't about people at all. It's about product and quality and design and blah, 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 blah. You'll talk about that on other pages. So that's my little soapbox message.
Absolutely agree. People, other than it being, you know, inquisitive and good to have an image of yourself or your team across your website, at the end of the day, people are nosy. They want to know more, they want to search more, and they are more likely to connect with you if they can put a face to the name. So during this time too, so we come back to some raw data that I get from a site called Social Media News. It's an Australian-based company, and they put out these statistics monthly across what's happening across all the platforms. So at the moment, a common question that we get asked is, why should I be on social media? And here it is. Over 60% of the Australian population is on Facebook. We've got 16 million active monthly users, and I am expecting that to increase for April. 16 million active users. So there's more people that have got accounts, but these are people who are on Facebook actively. Instagram, we've got 9 million. And LinkedIn, we've got 5.5 million, but again, the messaging is very different there. From some of the statistics that we're seeing worldwide and lockdown countries and so forth, their increase of social media activity is up by 10%. So there are, again, certain industries that are going to have a decline in social media, and that's like your cafes, your restaurants, where people can't go, are seeing a decline. But we are seeing an increase in people following other businesses because of being at home or working from home or being in front of a computer all the time or being having that extra time to actually sit around their house and think, okay, what do I need to get done, or what are my dreams, or what do I want? So we need to start to target our messaging to that. Yep, Mel.
Yep, moving on.
So yeah, while I'm giving you this information, there's always going to be a bit of skewed information out there. The other thing that I'll go back to what was just mentioning then with stats too, people are at home and they are looking for a distraction. So when they are looking around their lounge rooms or their kitchen, or again, I do realise that there's quite a few people here in the audience that market to other builders. So some of your messaging may be quite different for your target market. But there's certain questions that we can put out there to people. You know, we can't go and afford a holiday. Well, we can't go on holiday at the moment. We can certainly dream about it and so forth, but we can't actually do anything about that. But what people can do is they can plan for their renovation or their upgrade or their extension or their new new home office. If this is going to be something that companies are going to drive more people working from home, even after this pandemic is over, people are looking at that. So use your social media and your marketing, whether that be through emails, some emails, just keeping people up to date as to what you're doing. Again, people are nosy. You don't have to do the hard sell in your email marketing. You can just let them know what you're doing and where you're up to, and how, you know, things are affecting, and again, focusing on help, advice, and supporting people to build that trust. And yeah, very much so, your tone and your language is very important. So as Mel mentioned, don't shy away from what's going on at the moment. Be open, upfront and honest. And that's the way that you should always be. But yeah, avoid that hard sell. Don't go to take the sell out of your messaging. Put it back to, again, as Mel said, black or white.
Yeah.
What sort of bench top are you after? What do you like? And spark some inspiration in there. Encourage them to create a Pinterest board. Encourage them to tag you in designs and posts, even from other websites or even from overseas, to share that with you and give you something that you can then reply back to. The other thing to get back to engagement, the more that you respond, the higher your the further up your feed your posts are going to be for all of your other fans and followers. But just keep them engaged. But by doing that, you're keeping yourself top of mind for when it does come to the point that they are ready to make that decision and make that next step.
This comment about removing the hard sell, I find this really, really cool, because the message that really is out there, and we've been harping on this for years, is avoid selling altogether anyway, right? We want people to hire you. We don't want you to have to sell to them. So in order to get hired, you've got to prove to them through increasing your brand, increasing your evidence out there, making them trust you, and eventually they hire you. But if you're having to sell to them, it's so much harder. Like, it's just awkward for both parties. So
look, it is, but it's even coming back to, you know, before we wanted to put a call to action on everything that we were doing. We wanted them to visit a website. We wanted them to do something and do it now.
Yeah.
We need to remove that for now.
Yeah.
Either that, or I think what we need to do is we need to change our idea of what we want them to do. And that's where I'm come back to, you know, what does success look like? At this stage, I think people have really had their lives upended. I think if we give them permission to dream, you know, what could I do with my house once this is all over? You're almost giving them permission to plan for a future. And not only is that really psychologically important for people to do, that's a very big part of building trust, because what you're doing is you're saying to people, it's okay to plan for the future. You don't have to live in this crisis environment. You can think about when this is all going to be over. And that's actually huge in terms of keeping that positive mindset. And then that will be remembered when we come out of this and people are going, you know what, my bathroom actually did not cope with having 6 people using it all day, every day.
Yeah.
I really need to do something about that. The fact that you were there, the fact that you provided inspiration and ideas, expert advice for free, and all of these things is going to be remembered when this is over.
I'll throw a real, hopefully it's a real valuable comment or suggestion on the table right now for everybody on the line to consider. And I'd like to get some feedback from everyone as to whether they think that this is a good idea or not. People that are suppliers in the industry, we've created groups on Facebook now that are free groups. Enter this free group and let's have a chat. And it works really well because it gives us this environment to be able to engage with our audience, engage with our people. I think if you run a joinery business right now, and if you don't have a free Facebook group to go to, that could be the thing you do right now to invite people. Your call to action is to join our free group, and we can talk about what you need, what you're experiencing right now in your house, how you're coping. Just, you know, possibly the call to action could be as simple as, let's go to this free group and let's talk about what we might be able to help you with, or what you're experiencing. What do you think about that? Because for us, the free group works really well. It's not everybody's going to buy from us, of course, but at least we can help in some way.
Yeah. Did you have anything further you wanted to add, Mel?
I'm done, unless anyone's got any specific questions about marketing that they wanted to ask. Or yes, and Natalie, I totally agree with you. It's really hard to do a post with advice but not sell. But I think you can, if you get the language right, then what you're doing is the sell is behind the language. The sell is, remember that I'm an expert and here I was helping you. And I think that, you know, it can be a matter of, you know, here is my top 10 tips to do this. Here is my, you know, top 5 tips to manage this situation, or, you know, that type of thing. If you're doing more of that type of thing, then I think you're getting where you need to go in terms of advice without the sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just encourage everybody right now. You've got 2 of the greatest marketing minds in the country right now at your fingertips, ready to answer your questions. Let's open up the line completely for questions for Mel and Beck about specifically around marketing. Let's have some questions here. Love the tips, great advice. Natalie says you guys are amazing. They really are.
Thanks, Natalie.
The Joinery coaches partnered with the House of Social for a reason. These 2 ladies are amazing at what they do. And I have to tell everyone in the line right now that you just don't find a marketing agency that specializes in the joinery industry. So, you know, it's such an awesome connection, because there's no learning curve to go through. They're already doing it, and they're doing amazing things in our industry right now. So what sort of questions have we got? What, Mel, Beck, either one of you, I'll ask a question here. What are you finding that you're changing on websites right now that's getting the best reaction? What are the sort of things that you're specifically changing as a result of this virus?
I think most of it is around sorry, Beck, you go. I think most of it is around the messaging. I think there's not a lot we're changing specifically on websites, aside from tweaking things, because the website still represents the business overall. Most of the tweaks that we're making tend to be on the communication panels, so your social media or your email communications, where you're actually talking directly to people. We're really having to think about what we can do. And I don't know what everyone else thinks, but a couple of weeks ago, everyone went, oh, we're all working at home. Maybe everyone needs a home office. And I don't know about you guys, but does it feel like every second post now in your social media feed is some business going, hey, would you like a desk for your home office? And I'm kind of thinking, all right, that's technically smart to try to jump on that bandwagon. But if we're all doing the same thing, then really, is that not all just flooding the market with stuff that people can't take advantage of? So, you know, while pivoting to something that's really obvious, like a home office, is good, you know, you have to sort of wonder, if we all flood the market with exactly the same message, how are we going to differentiate with what we're doing? Probably the smartest one that I saw actually came from outside our industry, I'm really sorry to say, but it was a great example. So it was a company that did staging. So they basically did pop-ups for exhibitions, trade shows, home shows, that type of thing. And of course, all of that's been shut down now. But most of the stuff that they create folds down. So it's not like a flat pack as such, except it kind of is like a flat pack, but it's something that's light, easily moved, can fold down to be put away. And they pivoted very quickly and very early on into portable desks. So this idea that you could need a portable desk or a couple of portable desks in your lounge room to help set up. And they have actually done really well, because again, it's not a built-in thing. So you're not getting this, you know, this massive influx of needing people to come into your home and actually build a full home office for you. And that was probably one of the most successful that I have seen in the industry, just as one example. But I think, yeah, it's more around the language in the communication panels as opposed to the website itself specifically.
I think from our perspective in dealing with our clients across their entire business needs, one thing that's dawned on me with marketing is it's never about selling anything. It's about encouraging someone to take the next step in your process. You're never selling your thing, because if you try and jump from, hey, we've got this cool thing, do you want to buy it? They just say no. And if you don't have those steps through your process, you know, a conversion process of how you deal with someone, then it's a call, and then it's in the showroom, and then we come and measure up. If you don't have those steps through your process, possibly your website's a little jumbled up as well, right? What do you actually want someone to do when they land on your website? The second little bit of gold that I'll throw out there that Mel and Beck, you can say I'm wrong if you want, but I'm interested in the feedback. The one thing that I learned about websites quite a few years ago was that we, as a business, we'd paid all kinds of wonderful designers to make beautiful looking websites that had no result. They didn't do anything, but they looked great. And one thing that I learned from my coach was, he said a website has to have the ability for the three people that are going to land on your website. It's going to be cold traffic, it's going to be warm traffic, and it's going to be hot traffic. They're going to land on your website. And if you don't have something for cold traffic to do, they're going to bounce. If you don't have something for warm traffic to do, they're going to bounce. The hot traffic was always going to call you anyway, right?
Yes.
The hot traffic is always probably already talking to you. They just go to your website to see how you're going, that type of thing. Now, 80% of all your traffic is cold or warm. And that's the reason why most websites don't do their job, is because we don't have calls to action. We don't have free giveaways. We don't have, you know, jump into this and maybe our group, or they don't have the cold and warm type of steps through to get them hot. So they don't go from cold to hot. And your website, in my opinion, in most cases, doesn't have that warming up step through to get people to eventually call you. And I think if we do anything, we've got to start creating the steps in our process so that you're not selling. You're just saying, okay, well, our next step is we're going to come out and do a measure up, or our next step is, after we've had a chat, come into our showroom. And once you start taking people through those steps of your process, by the way, we call this a conversion strategy. Once you know that process, your website fits very squarely into that process. And I find that the help that the ladies are giving now with a lot of our clients on their website and creating those steps on their website has been invaluable certainly for a lot of our clients.
I completely agree, Bruce.
Yeah, cold and warm traffic has to have something on your website. Otherwise, they just bounce.
It does, but it also comes down to there is that look and feel. So yes, you need to have those calls to action, but if your website is pink and purple,
yeah,
they're bouncing anyway.
They don't even. Yeah.
They're not going to get there.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's our presentation done. Do you want me to bounce back to the?
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing and we'll bounce back to the main panel.
Awesome. I would now like to invite. Sorry, I just got to click a few things here. Monique, I'd love to hear your comments. Do you have a presentation, or shall I just share my screen?
Share your screen, if that's all right.
Yep, I'll take some notes as you're talking, see if I can get my tech working again. Oh, the gods are smiling on us today. This is fantastic.
Well, now you've put them off.
I shouldn't have said that, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
So Monique is an HR expert, and I'd like to talk right now. By the way, Mel, Beck, thanks so much for your input. I mean, the stuff that people are getting from this, they would normally pay thousands for, right?
So, and there was a question sort of that was in the Q&A, but yes, our details will be available at the end, and we're more than happy to talk to you and you know, give you some advice as to how to manage in today's environment.
Yeah, and it's like the marketing aspect of a business is so important. And I think, and I could be wrong about this, maybe we get a yes or no from everyone on the line. If your business needs leads, it's your job to convert those leads into customers, but you need the leads to do that. You may not want to be the marketing expert that figures out how to get the leads. Like if that's what you want to do in your business and have an expert department to do that, that's great. But most businesses just want someone that can do their top of funnel lead generation. That's their A-grade clients, getting them a lead. And if that's the case, get in contact with us, because that's exactly what we're doing. You know, you don't necessarily want to know how to get those leads. You just want them. Anyway, different time, but that's sort of where we're going with this. So yeah, if someone asked, are there any social media marketing experts? You're looking at them.
Can I just quickly, sorry, Monique, before we jump over to you, there was a question in the Q&A about tone and language. Simon was saying he'd noticed a lot more empathy in the communications. And was that what I meant by tone and language? Absolutely. I think we absolutely, as an industry, need to empathise with what's happening with people on a personal and a professional level. And the more we can give them solutions to the situation that they find themselves in right now, the more we'll be held in high regard, and the higher trust level we'll be able to achieve.
I think one of the best ways to do that too is if you can get feedback from your current clients that you're working with, and do, we don't like testimonials anymore, we do case studies that just outlines the experience that person had when working with you. And if you can get it on video, I believe that if you only ever did one thing and it was testimonial videos from clients that you're working with on camera, if that's all you ever had, you would do exceptionally well, because that's what people are actually looking to purchase from you. Is if they do work with you, what's their experience going to be? How are they going to feel when they work with you? And if somebody else is saying, well, these guys are great, we had a wonderful experience, that's, if you're selling anything, that's what you're selling, not the kitchen. You're trying to sell that experience and that reaction from a potential client, not the kitchen itself. It just gets that reaction, hopefully. Beautiful. Some great comments coming through here. Jesse says, thanks so much. Very interesting and inspirational. There is a future. There absolutely is. And it's very bright. Regarding Mel's comments, messaging, yeah, we went over that. Beautiful. All right. Monique, I'd love to get you involved here and talk about your team and talk about how we can work with the people on your team right now, because business is not about the person that runs the business. You're not going to grow your business. You have to get your team to do that. If your business is going to survive this crisis, your team is going to do it with you and for you. And we've got to be so connected to our team now more than ever, I think, because they're the ones that got you here and they're the ones that are going to help you get through it. So how do we right now navigate this landmine of what do we do with our team? Give us some hit points here on what we're going to be doing.
Well, I suppose, as you said, communication is key. And as we all know, every day it seems like something else is changing. The government's provided a new announcement. So like we do, we chat with our guys. So if there's anything that's going to affect us personally or within the industry, then we'll disseminate that information, and we'll be having a catch up. So really at the end of the day, it's really just about having meetings, building that confidence within your team to let them know how the business is going, how their jobs, whether their jobs are safe, what your expectations are, what your plan is for in the future for them, and hopefully a job at the end of all of this as well. So, there's a lot of anxiety going around at the moment, which we're all feeling. And it's also, about, supporting your team. Also, obviously providing them information for some of those team members that may be a bit more anxious than others. There are a lot of, support lines and so forth out there as well. There's also things to do with, obviously a lot of your teams now with us in particular. For example, our admin staff over the last couple of weeks have been working from home. So it's also about trying to stay connected with them. So we've incorporated that house party app. So we catch up a couple of times a week, and we all have a little bit of a chat. Obviously we talk work, but at the end of it, we'll maybe, chatting about, the wonderful weekend we're going to have from going from the fridge to the sink, to the fridge to the sink, to the lounge room, basically. But it's about communicating with it still and feeling like you are part of the team. So that's really, really important. And so the other thing also, so obviously as I said, a lot of people have been anxious. We have been inundated with phone calls in regards to the coronavirus, in regards to the job keeper payment, to do with, stand downing employees, making employees redundant, reducing employees' hours, employers' obligations. There's been a whole range of topics and questions and so forth that we have been asked by our members, and those of our members who are listening today, I apologise for all the emails that you have been receiving of late. We have been sending out a bit more than usual, but that's thanks to the government, of course. So we are keeping people updated with those current changes and so forth. And obviously the JobKeeper payment today will hopefully will be legislated, and we'll keep them updated in regards to what those changes are, or what's been legislated, and what their requirements and so forth are as well. So basically, I just wanted to go over a few things that people have asked us.
Yeah, that's
some
great.
More of those common questions, if that's okay. So the main thing that we're getting really, obviously the coronavirus and, what do I do with our employees and work health and safety and so forth has been a prime topic. But the other one that has really been the main topic is a downturn in business and what employers can do and what options they have. So basically, there's a few options. Now you could look at to reduce your costs. So therefore, you could look at reducing employees' hours. You could look at obviously putting someone on stand down, and then the scenario, the last one would be a redundancy, and that's something that we're trying to encourage people, if possible, hopefully not to do, to have that as a last resort. So basically, the main thing that we're really talking to our members with at the moment is really considering having a chat with your team, as we just said, communication is key, and saying to them, basically where the business is at and what systems they could put in place to ensure that everyone still has a job at the end of all of this. So reduction in hours is usually the first option that you could look at. Obviously leave, I should put that in point as well. So you could look at employees that have a significant amount of leave. You could ask them quite nicely if they would like to take some annual leave or some long service leave or something like that. Obviously that reduces your liability down the track as well if you did have to, pay employees out. But the reduction in hours is a genuine conversation that I think under the current climate, employees are really understanding, whereas beforehand when you would have had this conversation, that I think there would have been more of a pushback. But these days I think employees are really understanding that and are more thankful for the fact that you're having that conversation with them and offering them still employment, but obviously at those reduced hours. So obviously they need to agree with that. You need to have it in writing. There's no, if you don't agree with it, I'm going to make you redundant. So it's a nice conversation. But that would be our first suggestion as far as that goes. As I said, looking at the leave entitlements, and you could top that up with the shorter working week. So, for example, you could look at reducing someone's days to 3 or 4 days a week, obviously with agreement, and then saying to them, would you then you could take 1 or 2 days a week as your annual leave, so they're still getting paid their full week's pay, but you're reducing that leave liability from your end, and then the employee is still, as I said, still being paid. Now, the other question that I've been getting is regard to stand down. So the stand down scenario, normally, obviously coronavirus was never really referenced within the Fair Work Act to talk about stand down. Normally when we used to talk about standing down employees, there would have been, for circumstances out of employers' control, normally, fire or flood or, electrical issues or machinery not working, and therefore, those employees were not able to be usefully used within their normal work, and then you would stand them down without pay. So stand down really is not to do with, let's say, for example, you've got a little bit of a turn down in revenue, and you may have, let's say, 3 admin staff or 3 cabinet makers in your factory, and now you think you only want 2, and you're going to stand down 1 of those employees. That is not a stand down. A section of your business due to the coronavirus could possibly be a stand down. The example obviously is to do with your clubs and your pubs in particular. We have had a couple of members that predominantly their work was, so I'm saying like 90-95% of their work was pubs and pub fit outs. And obviously due to the shutdown imposed by the government, therefore they are no longer able to usefully use their employees, and they've had to make the hard decision to stand down their employees. And that would be an example of a stand down. The other thing is obviously looking at those possibilities of redundancies. So the question is I need to make an employee redundant, can I do that? Well, yes, redundancies are possible, so as long as obviously you follow the guidelines. The thing with redundancies is obviously, as I said, yep, they're possible, but you're losing skilled employees. At the end of the day, you're going to come out of this, and I'm thinking we're going to be busier than ever. I'm being optimistic.
100%.
I know myself, and Dean can definitely relate to this, and so can Mel. I am a traveller. I absolutely love it. I feel like claustrophobic at this point in time because I don't actually have a holiday, a long holiday booked anyway. And I'm, the hands are shaking and everything. So my thing is, well, if I'm not going to be able to go overseas like I normally do, or go on my, month's holiday, I'm most probably going to get my bathroom done. So I've told the husband that's most probably what I'm going to do. So I think people will kind of like look at that. I think also the fact that we have been in our houses for so long, we'll be looking at certain things and picking things that we most probably would, may want to get fixed up. So in light of that, if that is going to happen, you are, as I said, losing that skilled labour. The cost alone of just recruitment, obviously training and all of that completely outweighs the, to make that quick decision to make somebody redundant. If you are looking at making someone redundant, as many of our members know, you need to please call us. Please try not to make that decision yourself. But there are consultation requirements within the all the awards in regards to major workplace change, and redundancy falls under that category. So basically, you've got to have that evidence that you have consulted with that employee, looked at alternative work and so forth, and then provided them a termination of employment in writing, because anytime you terminate an employee, that is a requirement that you provide that in writing. So the other things too, that what we were asked, and I think this is kind of like slowed down a little bit since the JobKeeper payment has been announced. I know, like, a couple of weeks ago, everyone was we're just on the knife's edge each time. Are we going to be all into shutdown? Is this going to happen? Because obviously the pubs and clubs and restaurants, that started to happen, and we're all thinking eventually that's what's going to happen. So the other questions that we have been asked is what happens if it's announced over a weekend? What are our obligations? How do we inform our employees? So basically, as I said, that stand down needs to be, there must be a stoppage of work. Stoppage must be due to a reason out of the employer's control, which would obviously be an initiative through the government. And there must not be other useful work for the employee to complete. So if we were required to all close our doors for a certain period of time, basically, it would be just a requirement. Like if it did happen over a weekend, see if you can text your employees, see if you can, somehow email them and contact them and advise them of what that stand down would mean. It's more like a pause button on your business though with the stand down. It's not so forth that the employee is terminated. It's just the fact, as I said, they're just on pause for a time being until that shutdown has been lifted. So employees also accrue their normal entitlements during that, and also if public holidays fall within a stand down, they are entitled to be paid that public holiday as well. The other question that I have been inundated with is this JobKeeper payment. So, am I eligible? How am I going to do this? Oh, that is a webinar in itself. However, obviously, as we said, communication is key as far as that is. So, how do you qualify? I'm quite sure most people are across that now. I think most of a lot of our industry wouldn't be earning over the $1 billion. So a lot of them would be under that $1 billion revenue downturn. So obviously there's supposed to be a 30% reduction within that. There have been the toying with the casuals as far as having to work 12 months, and then the government was going to do a backflip on it, and now they've gone, no, it's still, they have to be working for a minimum of 12 months, and they have to be employed as of the 1st of March, obviously over 16. The other thing is also, obviously, I'm quite sure everyone has already registered if they feel as though they could be eligible for this, then they have to go through to the ATO. The ATO have their own link. They will you register through them. So they're the governing body for the JobKeeper payment. And this will be based on that one-touch payroll system, the single-touch payroll system that's already been introduced. So And obviously it's a $1,500 a fortnight before tax payment. The other questions really, which is I'm quite sure a lot of people can resonate with, is there staff being concerned about going on site in regards to them, obviously regards to the coronavirus and stuff. And I know we've already chatted, to be looking at when, for what you said earlier, Bruce, to do with, people going into your workplace. I actually had tradesmen into my workplace. They were fantastic. It was 2 of them. The social distancing thing happened. I had to put the credit card on the kitchen bench. They entered the details into their iPad, and the receipt was emailed to me. It was completely, basically no how you going, no shaking hands. They didn't wear masks, and I didn't feel uncomfortable with that. However, they did adhere to that social distancing and obviously respected, obviously, as I said, using their iPad and so forth. So that made me feel quite comfortable and so forth. So basically what I would say though, so the best practice at the moment has been, the government is obviously still giving direction. They want us to continue working. They want us to be out there installing kitchens. They want us to be manufacturing and keep working. So the best practice during this time would be to put some measures into place to ensure the safety of your employees. So with us, and I'm quite sure a lot of other employers are already implementing these. In particular, if someone is sick, please tell them to stay at home. I know, and I've been someone that has done this in the past. If I've had a bit of a cold, I'd mostly still come to work. Nowadays, that's pretty much a no-go, and I'm pretty sure most employees these days are fairly aware of that. Because I know, someone coughs in the corner and all of a sudden they feel like a leper because everyone steps like 10 foot back from them. Having the office call ahead and check with clients if they have any symptoms of coronavirus or being in contact with anybody. Provide employees where possible, obviously with protective equipment, the sanitisers, the gloves. The hand sanitizer obviously is like finding a unicorn at the moment. And I know it's really, really difficult. What we got our guys, so we've got trainers that are going out, that do go out in the workplace. We've tried to step that back a little bit. But we got them just like the little sanitizers just for their iPads and their computer and so forth. And whatever, and they have, some of them will have hand sanitizer in their car and so forth on that. So ask customers to give you space, so your installer, so they don't have to enter. So that 4 square metre radius rule for employees. And providing your employees with a clear procedures on what they have to do. So, at the end of the day, we can talk about it, but really having that, a safe work method statement for the current climate, really, at the end of the day. And then the problem with, obviously, if there's somebody that's gotten the virus, then obviously, have to go through and the reporting procedures and so forth and all of that. But the main thing, obviously, and I know I've done it, I realised I was just watching myself. I touched my nose, I touched my cheek, touched my glasses. Obviously, trying not to, touch your face is obviously key to all of this. But so the main thing, as I said, the JobKeeper payment has definitely been a hot topic in the past week or so. And we will know a little bit more about this afternoon, well, hopefully, fingers crossed. And we will disseminate that information out to everybody if there have been some changes in that. The other thing that I wanted to let you know or know about is there's a whole heap of resources on our website. Now, you don't have to be a member. We've been very nice and we have shared the love, as so to speak. In fact, we've had to create a coronavirus section of our website. I might just share, if I share the screen on that. Can you guys see that?
Not yet. We're still viewing Bruce's screen.
Oh, okay. I'll just leave. If you go onto our website, under the resources, and then there's a WHS, and then there's a coronavirus section. So on that website, we have a range of different resources on there. So there's everything from frequently asked questions. There's all the incentives that have been announced of late from the government incentives. There's posters, there's hand washing posters and things like that you can use. There's best practice for the building construction guide. So basically, there we go. Thanks, Bruce. There's also so some information for when you are working on site. There's some of those fact sheets. So please, if it's got a little green tick beside it, there's a whole heap of resources that anybody can access. We've also got information under our news as well, to do with some of the things from Safe Work Australia, because they keep updating all of their information and so forth. So we've got all the information on there as well. So yeah, there's lots of information. But basically, at the end of the day, as I said, the stand down, the redundancy, and the reduction of hours have been really the top questions that we have been asked. If you need any information as far as, and as I know most of our members are already aware of this, that there is a stand down letter that we can assist with, a reduction in hours letter that we can also provide you. And as I said, if you're making someone redundant, it's really important. If you're a member of another association or or whatever, that you do talk to somebody. Obviously, if you're a member of us, to give us a call to ensure that you follow that protocol to ensure that it doesn't turn out to be not a genuine redundancy.
And I think too, we've just had a comment on the chat to say that there are different rules in different states, so it is really, really important to understand exactly. I know Victoria at the moment has some very tough legislations around what you're allowed to do. New South Wales is slightly less stringent, but yes, it really does come down to the state authority that you're dealing with, and then obviously there are HR laws that differ from state to state. So it is very, very important to understand the rules and regulations around exactly where you are.
Yeah, even Safe Work don't even know the answer to some of the questions. So particular with people being in the same vehicle, we've asked that question, and it does vary. The question answered through Safe Work New South Wales has been that there can be 2 people in the vehicle for up to 2 hours. And there's nothing really there that people can find, but we've just found out that information. So you're exactly right. We're trying to, and we are updating information as quickly as we can. But as I said, they keep changing it on us, and in particular for each state. But most of those frequently asked questions and all of that are on our website are quite broad, and would fit most people's normal questions that they would ask. Yeah.
I think in general right now, the message that I understand is that our industry is open for business and working. We just have to follow the rules. But the government's been pretty clear. They want the construction industry to be strong and continue, because as soon as it shuts down, the new medical centers that are being built shut down. And that's not something we want to see happen either. So this country particularly relies on what the construction industry is doing right now. As far as in someone's house renovating, that can still happen, but it certainly has to follow certain guidelines. That's my understanding of it anyway. And I'm not an expert, but that's what I understand.
And I think the conversation that we had beforehand in regards to building that consumer confidence and maybe having that message a little bit different as what you were saying earlier is going to be, we've got some members that have advised us that, some people are cancelling some contracts because they don't want those people to go out, because they don't want the member to go into their workplace. So I think it is really more important than ever to build that consumer confidence, so they feel as though that it's going to be okay to have somebody in their home and continue to get that work done.
Yeah, they can trust you to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's awesome, Monique. That's answered quite a few questions, I think, for everyone. Again, everybody, you've got one of the greatest minds in this country around HR on the line right now, available to you.
Don't know where they are. This person standing behind me.
Who's got some specific questions or comments for Monique? And let's jump in and see if we can get some clarity. If anybody, there's been some questions coming through in the question and answer section, which has been really helpful. Monique,
so the employers have to be, so no, they don't have to be in for the JobKeeper payment. the employees don't have to be employed for the last 12 months. They just have to be employed by the 1st of March. It's only the casuals that have to be employed for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we have questions coming through, I'll let you know. Again, awesome stuff, Monique. Your organization, again, is one of the best in the country, and I'm really happy to be a part of it, quite frankly. Our group, most of the people in our group have been a member of yours for quite a while, and the ones that haven't are now or are going to be. So thanks a lot for that input. Wonderful insights. I wanted to just ask Dean what he would like to add to this conversation.
Oh, thanks, Bruce. I just wanted to say thanks also for putting this on, mate. It's been really good. And again, this is how the industry should work. We should collaborate. It's the only way forward. I just got a few little things. For me, it's really important that our business owners really have a good handle on their financials. If you don't have those good little habits, i.e. of monitoring your business, you need to get into those habits and get into those habits quickly. There should be time set aside for looking at your P&L on a monthly basis, and also looking at your balance sheet as well. Monique spoke about leave liabilities. One of the first things that we did as a business was we looked at our leave liabilities. I asked some of the staff here to take some leave this month to reduce that leave liability. We kept our trainers full time, but some of our administration staff, we looked at that part of our business and we reduced those hours. So that was really important that we did that. And also, one of the reasons we were able to adapt to this change quite quickly was the fact that we actually had a contingency plan in place. So we moved really quickly to working remotely. We had to spend a little bit of money. We had to buy two laptops, but basically every one of our staff members now are able to work remotely. So with that also, a business plan. I know they're hard, but really everyone should have a yearly business plan. You need to take risk into consideration as well. It's a good time to check your insurances. Are they adequate? It's literally I've been through this process ourselves for this business over the past couple of months. So it's really important that you look at your insurances. This is probably, Bruce, this might be a little bit down your alley, but as a production orientated person myself, it's time as a business owner to actually go down to the factory, take the rose-coloured glasses off, or what I call snow blindness, and really have a good look at your factory. Is the flow right? Is there waste laying around? Is it messy? How long has it been since the machines have been maintained? It's a good time now to have a look at those sort of 1%ers. In my view, if you've got time, you should look at that. And my last point, I suppose, is you know, your staff are actually looking at you as the leader. So, you know, you need to lead this. You need to lead your team through this. They're looking for you for strength. They're looking for you for advice, and you need to step up to the plate. None of us can hide behind this at the moment. So, yeah, they're my little takeaways. And thanks, Bruce, for your time too. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's what we do. I do this because I love the industry, and there's anything we can do to crank things up in this industry, we'll do it. For us, it's not about necessarily selling. It's about getting this industry to where we believe it should be.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's some really good points. And I'll just come back to this slide here. There's something that has been identified as what we call the leader lid. And I'll just explain that a little bit. If you are a business that is running business in one of these three categories, and again, every business is in one of these three, essentially, the leader of that business essentially puts the lid on what everybody else in the business can get to. So everybody else in the business will not get above. If you're a fear-focused business, in other words, you're not really doing anything proactive and you're a little bit fearful to make choices or big, bold moves, everybody else in the business will be capped at that mindset as well. So just to your point, Dean, about leadership, there is a lid here that people will hit. There's a lid here that people will hit. And your business will never get above that until you, as the leader, go from, if you're here, go to here. because then you bring everybody with you. So we as business owners, as industry leaders, we've got to lead from the front, because that's what your team and your tribe is looking for you to do. And if you don't do it, they may look to somebody else because they need a strong leader in this position. I think that for us anyway, the message that we want to make really clear here is that this industry in general, and I know I'm going to take some heat for this, this industry in general has a lot of work to do to get current with the rest of the world. We talk about not being competitive. We talk about not being able to compete with China and all these other places. We've had those conversations for years. I call BS on that. I say that the only reason that we can't compete is because we haven't advanced with the times in our industry. If you think back to the panel beating industry, for example, I was in this country, I came here in '86 originally. So if you were to walk into a panel beater back then, it was like some Neanderthal in a dark cave with a club. You wouldn't send your wife, your daughter anywhere into that situation. Now look at that industry. They've regulated, they've created standards, they've got standard work practices. They are an industry that 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't dream then that they would be like they are now. You know, how do you regulate how a panel is going to be fixed? Well, they have. We need to get to that level in this industry. We need to get to the point that we can compete with anybody in the world, and we can. And I believe that the opportunities that are presenting to us right now is the time more than ever, because I believe that what's going to happen is the country is going to look internally for its own production of things more than it ever has. We're going to go back to, hey, let's not outsource anymore, because now we don't trust wherever this stuff was coming from. And if as an industry, we don't step up and take charge of this, we're just going to stay back where we were. And I'm with force. I'm trying to help everybody make that not happen. Now is the time to get very serious and look at yourself in the mirror and say, how am I going to turn this business around? Maybe we don't need to be setting up our kitchens on the factory floor when they're just standard cabinets, you know, just to touch and feel them all the time. There's all these things that we have with this, let's face it, a really small group of people that we have in a program right now compared to the vastness of the industry that are just killing it right now. And this isn't a sell. I'm just telling you what we are achieving with a very, very small demographic of people that are now going, holy crap, I've been working in this business for 20 years. And for the last 6 months, we've achieved more than we have in the last 20 years. Now, somehow we need to get everybody in the industry to do that, whether it's with us or whether it's someone else. Now's the time that we've got this pause in time or space to have a really hard look at what we're doing and engage with someone that can help you. You know, like Dean was saying, if your factory isn't lean, if it isn't following lean principles, find someone that can help you engage with lean principles, because here's the result of it is if we make a 10% improvement in your efficiency in your factory, that is a direct 10% improvement in your revenue, because you can do 10% more work in exactly the same period of time. Therefore, you have 10% more revenue. Now, most people in our programs are getting 40 to 60% improvement in efficiencies in 6 months. Again, that's not a sell. That's just when they roll up their sleeves and engage without barriers or friction or resistance and just do it. That's the results they get, right? A 40 to 60% improvement in efficiencies. Some people are getting like if your conversion rate with clients, so you've got all this stack of leads, so you want more leads, but you're only converting 20 of them. Well, what would happen if you converted 70% of them? You know, from 20% conversion to a 70% conversion. Now that's how we compete with the rest of the world. That's how we take our industry and get it up 5 or 6 notches in a very short period of time. And we do all we can to blast out to the world, this is what we're doing, this is what we're helping with. There's these people over here that are getting these great results. What we're doing now is we're saying, let's engage in conversations more now because we've got some time to do it. We're very passionate about helping people in the industry, and we have a lot of conversations that have nothing to do with selling a program. We've got a Facebook group, the Joinery Hub, the Joinery Business Hub. That's a free group. Anybody can join it. And we have all sorts of lively conversations in there where we show results. We show some of the stuff we're working with people. It's just a free group. Just join our free group. And, you know, if there's something you can take away from that, that's wonderful. It's the one thing about Facebook that's great is that you have this live dynamic content that we can share back and forth. We're sharing some of the results with some of our marketing clients with Mel and Beck, because their results in marketing in this industry is, it's unprecedented for most businesses that have struggled prior to that, you know, here's a kitchen you want to buy. I always think of Bart Simpson. Dad, I want a dog. Dad, I want a dog. For 4 weeks. Finally, he got a dog, but his dad was annoyed. That's like everybody posting a picture of their kitchens. Here's my kitchen. You want to buy it? Here's my kitchen. You want to buy it? Right? That's just not going to work. So there are certain things that we can help you with to get you started. So yeah, for sure. This model, I think, is very relevant, that if you have a really good look at where you are in business, if you were on this sort of yellow line or even on this red line, you were on that line before the crisis hit. And we've got some choices now. And I hope people are making choices, because the old thinking that you had, the old skills and knowledge that you had in the kit bag, that's not going to get you through to this next stage. You know, you need to add something to the mix to get you up. You know, whether it's new marketing techniques, whether it's dealing with HR, whether it's whatever your business is needing right now, you need it more now than ever, because the crisis has really put you behind the 8 ball a little bit. So I don't think we know what this period of time here is, where this turnaround is going to happen. But personally, I have no doubt in my mind that this turnaround, this increase in economy is going to happen. And when it happens, if you're not prepared in your business to take advantage of that at that time, there's going to be a whole ton of people that are, and you're going to be even farther behind, because these people are going to take all of those jobs, you know. And so what I'm suggesting to people is, don't get farther behind the 8 ball here with this relatively short period of time. Let's roll up our sleeves and get stuff done, and engage with House of Social, engage with us, engage with anybody in the industry that is out there willing to help. Costs can be managed, costs can be discussed, but when you get results in a massive way, cost is completely insignificant. So I want to just thank everybody for attending. It's been a great session. I've learned a lot. Dean, you touched on a little bit about strategies and business plans. I wanted to just quickly go through. For a lot of years, I worked as a consultant, where I get paid to make a business plan, and a consultative report on a business is what they needed to do to fix their business. It was about a 300-page report. I'd get paid about $10,000 to do that. And then they would never see me again, right? I'd give them the report and say, there you go, see you later. And I go back 2 years later and I'd pull the report off the shelf and go blow the dust off it. And nobody did anything, right? So what a terrible way to earn money, because you tell them what to do and they wouldn't do it. What I've done is I've put a strategic plan into 2 pages. From that 300-page report, there's really two pages. You can put it on 2 pages. Your business overview. What do you actually want to do with the business? Just write this down. What do you want to do? That's what you want to do. What's your team? Who's going to help you implement this in your business? So what do you want to do, and what's your team going to look like? The next thing is, let's just nail the points. What's your revenue, right? What's your current profit margin? What do you need to do to get efficiencies that way? What sort of volumes can you actually achieve in your business? Do you have 1 CNC machine, 2 CNC machines, those sorts of things? And then what are the bottlenecks that's going to stop you from achieving those things? And just make dot points. That is a really great way to create a business plan that might be linked to a cash flow forecast.
That's a great template.
But don't overcomplicate it. Don't think that you've got to write a 20 or 50-page business plan that the bank wants you to write. Just create action steps. What's your business? What does it look like? What do you want to achieve? Who is your team? How are they structured? Create an org chart so you know where people sit in finance and that sort of thing. And then just nail the revenue targets, nail how much profit you want to make. That'll determine how efficient you need to be. Talk about what volume you're capable of doing in your business, because that will then tie into your cash flow abilities. Identify your bottlenecks, and then just start writing details around these things. A business plan doesn't have to be a big evil beast. It can be an action plan that you review weekly or even daily.
And neither does a marketing plan. That exact same sort of setup can be applied to any form of marketing plan. The best marketing plans I've seen are maximum 2 pages. If you're writing me a novel about your marketing plan, then you're spending way too much time thinking about it. Really, you can summarize in a very short space of time what your goals are, how you want to get there, what success is going to look like, and what steps you're going to take, how are you going to implement it. And really, it should be no more than 2 pages. If you can get it down to 1 page, then all the better. It's the same principle with your marketing plan.
Yeah. Make it easy so that you can actually do it, but not complicated so you get overwhelmed. So in general, the business improvements that we want to do to get you through this, to help you survive this strategy. We've talked a little bit about this. I'd just like to ask everybody when we're done here, if you'd like a copy of this presentation and even this plan, I'm happy to send it to you and make it available. Just to wrap up here, where we went and where we've come from and where we're going. We take those 9 foundations of business. This is what everybody has in their business, these 9 foundations. And all we do, and I'm suggesting this is what everybody could do right now, is say, right, instead of it being 90 days, let's just say it's going to be 30 days or even 14 days. Just pare it back to what's achievable and just take some of these strategies and put them into a plan. This is what we call a high level plan. We then want to get this down to eye level so you can actually put these into tangible results. So you could then start determining what you take from these things here. Maybe this is 1, 2, and 3 things that you want to do this week. And you can start putting focus points as to what they're going to be. I'm not going to write this out because my writing is so bad you won't read it anyway. But you get the idea. There's 4 points that we want to put in here that as a business, a management team, you'd want to flesh out and say, this is what we want to achieve. So that's the eye level. From high level, that's the eye level. What we do then is we take it down to what we call thigh level, which is people actually doing things on the floor. And I think if you keep this simple as well into a page like this that just says, who's going to do it? Let's just say that Bill in your factory is going to clean the bench, and Adam is going to film it. What are they going to do? They're going to create a film for marketing. This is just an example of a project that you might want to do right now. And how are they going to do it? They're going to need a camera. They're going to need this. They're going to need that. And they're going to do it by Wednesday. So that's the who, that's the what, that's the how, and that's the when. And if you create just a simple sheet like this from your thigh level plan, from your eye level plan, and this sheet here goes on the wall or on your communication board, now these 2 people here know exactly what they need to do. They need to know when they need to do it by, and they've got the what are they doing, and they've got the how are they doing it. Then this is a way to action your staff and get them doing the things that's going to carry your business through. I don't know about anybody on the line right now, but I know that when I actually delegate and handball things off to people in my business, I go, oh, that was easy. And it got done, and it got done better than I was going to do it anyway. So there's so many things that need to be actioned right now that's going to carry you through this time so that you can survive this. And we're talking about survival plans right now, not necessarily growth plans or acceleration plans. Let's think about what do we need to do to survive it? What do you need right now? Some of the things that Mel, Beck, Monique, Dean have talked about, put it into an action plan. And if you need help with an action plan like this, don't be afraid to reach out to us or anybody on the team. This is all stuff that we're freely willing to give away. And let's just engage in a conversation. If we can help the industry, we're going to help everyone. It's enough rambling from me. So I'd just like to invite everybody on the panel individually to just maybe just give us your last thoughts on where we're at and where we're going. Dean, I'm sorry, I didn't have your email at the time of writing this, so.
That's okay. All good. For me, it's cash flow. Cash flow is king. I've got a board meeting in 2 weeks' time, and I've done 5 cash flow projections. I will probably table 2, one best case and one worst case scenario. So that's it in a nutshell. They're totally the only things that I'm focused on at the moment is cash flow.
Yeah, it's a good thing to focus on right now. Just on that, sorry to jump in here. There's a comment that I make quite a bit that puts people off a little bit. I don't actually think anybody ever has a cash flow problem. I think what they have is a cash management problem. And if we can learn to manage our cash better, like Dean's saying, I think you get your cash flow sorted pretty well. Monique, love to hear your final thoughts.
Well, yeah, as I said, just reiterating what we said before, communication is king with your employees. just chat with them, guys, and keep them updated on what's happening. And as all we know, Chinese whispers do happen, and we want to nip those in the bud as quick as we can, and look at other options before going down, you know, the final option of looking at making someone redundant. And obviously that JobKeeper payment, I think, has brought, I feel at ease a little bit more with this being implemented, or hopefully being implemented. A lot of our members have you know, asked a lot of questions in regards to it, and I think that's going to help a lot of businesses as well. So yeah, just to have a look at other options that you could maybe look in regards to staggering hours and so forth, to continue your employees and have them there at the end.
Awesome. Rebecca, the social media queen.
Remain positive, and I think, you know, and communication as well to your audiences. Communication really is key in life, and you need to be able to share the message. Remain positive for your employees, but remain positive for your audience and your current clients and your future clients, and really stay active, respond to as much as you can, and as much as, you know, we all go through periods where we're not feeling very positive. Really try and make sure that positiveness is reflected in the communications that you're sending out, whether that be emails, responding to messages, and your social media posts.
Yeah. We've started using Slack at the beginning of last year, and it's been that communication tool, Rebecca, that's just been awesome for us. I highly recommend Slack in your businesses. You can use it for your installation team, your assembly team, whatever you want in your business. Slack is a great way to communicate.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Melanie, closing thoughts?
I'll just back up with what Beck said. I think really we're looking at a maintenance period that we're going into now, given that, you know, we're all in the construction industry. I think about it as the foundations that you lay down now and over the next few months in terms of your marketing and your messaging and your communications is what's going to build your growth as we come out of this situation. So the main thing is to remain positive. The main thing is to really think about what are you wanting to communicate to people and why. Don't just spam them with lots of ideas for their home. That's not actually being helpful. What you got to think about is all those little things that you can give them. Give them positivity. Don't be afraid to pivot your message towards inspiration and innovation. That's what people are looking for right now. And I think too, the other thing is stay as positive as you can in terms of your message. Give your clients, particularly if you're talking to homeowners, give them permission to dream. We all need something positive that we want to look forward to right now. But I think the absolute worst thing that you can do right now is take your foot off the marketing accelerator.
Yeah.
I think otherwise you'll only just be that much further behind.
You'll be on the yellow or the red line.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And again, it's not a sales pitch. It just is.
Yeah.
You know, if there's ever a time to remain relevant and to remain active, it's now.
Yeah. Wise words from wise people. I'm inspired by all of you. It's just been great to be a part of this. Thanks so much. I think our message hasn't changed. It's just been accelerated. I like to change words a little bit. I don't believe we're in the construction industry at all, although our product ends up on the construction side of things. Most of the people on our line right now are manufacturers. We're in the manufacturing industry. And the reason we say that is because your investment in your business is not in the site or how you install. The investment is in your machinery, sometimes hundreds, sometimes millions of dollars in machinery that manufactures something. It just so happens that it ends up in construction sometimes. So our message is, yes, we are in the construction industry as part of our business. We partner with people in the construction industry, but the business that most people run as a joinery manufacturer is in the manufacturing sector. And for that reason, we've got this wonderful opportunity to manufacture all kinds of stuff. And right now, let's look at that opportunity and that advantage we have to manufacture things that maybe are going to go sideways. Most businesses that we work with that are struggling right now are struggling because they're relying on site installation of built-in joinery. Businesses that we work with that are doing exceptionally well I don't know if we have Ben still on the line from Gua Kitchens, but they've got a really wonderful balance in what they do in business that doesn't necessarily rely on one source of revenue from construction. So this is the wake-up call for manufacturing business, is to say, if we relied on one thing for so long, this is the reason this is going to hurt us. We've got to be diverse. So that's our message, is let's look at your manufacturing capabilities and what else can we be doing right now that's going to get your business through. And when we're done, it's going to carry your business forward even more. Awesome. I think that's time. That's 1 o'clock right on the bell. Wow. Thanks, everybody. We'll wrap this up. If anybody has any more questions, please chuck them into the chat forum right now. We're in the question and answer box. We'll leave that open for a few minutes. Again, I just want to thank everyone on the panel right now. And I want to thank Kim as well. Kim's been behind the scenes monitoring and keeping everything up to date. Kim's the glue that holds my business together. It's great. Thanks a lot, Kim. Dean, Monique, Rebecca, Melanie, thanks again.
Thank you.
I hope everybody
happy to be here.
Thank you.
I've got a feeling it's going to be a great week.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Yes.
Have a great long weekend.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to sign off. I'll leave the chat box open for a few minutes, but no doubt everybody's got some work to do. So thanks for attending and have a great afternoon. Bruce from the Joinery Coach. Peace out.
Bye.